Women Today, brought to you by citywing.com for your next flight away.
Hello and welcome to the Women Today podcast. From calories on menus to music and memories, we've covered a number of issues this week, and we've also been in the presence of some stars, including one who made Kate's childhood dreams come true.
Hi, I'm Melanie C and you're listening to Women Today.
So they say you should never meet your heroes. I'm a little bit nervous you're going to let me down.
Oh gosh, no pressure.
How have you enjoyed tonight?
Oh, it's been amazing. You know, it's so lovely to be back on the Isle of Man. It's only my second visit, and in fact it's the first time I've performed here. So it's good to get here to do that. And to be with Jules' band, you know, it is just the best way to perform. It's like, I haven't seen the guys, we haven't performed together for, a long time, probably close to a year. And they invited me to come to this particular show, and I was just like, definitely, I am there, because getting on stage with those guys, they're such wonderful, accomplished, brilliant musicians. It's just, as a vocalist, it's an absolute honour to grace that stage with them.
Do you like this kind of music, the boogie woogie?
You can't not like Jules. He is like, I call him Uncle Jules, because he's just so sweet and everybody's lovely. I think that's a real testament to him he's such a great guy that everybody who around him is brilliant in what they do and really lovely as well. And, you know, he does lots of boogie woogie, but he does lots of musical styles. You know, we do Never Be the Same Again, one of my songs, and they do it with a kind of a reggae feel. So it's, you know, it's quite varied. He's not just boogie woogie, he kind of crosses lots of different genres of music.
Now, we are women today, so I have to ask some questions about being a woman in the music industry. How do you think it's changed since you started out?
Wow. Well, I think, you know, being a woman in many industries has changed for the better since the 90s and, you know, over the decades. And, you know, unfortunately, in lots of professions, it's not changing quick enough. But at least we're going in the right direction. And, you know, music's really changed. And I feel very proud being a Spice Girl. And I think our success really helped a lot of the younger female artists who are out there now. And it's lovely when you meet artists like Adele and Jessie J and Little Mix, and they were fans, you know, and you know, we've kind of been through a time where female artists have been ruling, you know, the biggest artists in the world, Beyonce, Rihanna, Katy Perry, you know, and our wonderful British girls as well. It's pretty astounding. I don't think there's ever been a time in music like it, really.
I'm only 24, so I was very much the age for the Spice Girls. Yeah. I think I had a few arguments in the playgrounds, fighting to be Sporty Spice.
Well, really? Oh, I'm flattered. But I mean, thinking about it, Wannabe will be 20 next year, so you must have only been like 5.
I was kicking them out the way so I could play football with the boys.
Good girl.
But do you feel responsible in some ways with all the kind of girl power stuff that you had back in the 90s for the new wave of feminism that we're seeing as people who are my age grow up?
Well, you know, I don't think we're wholly responsible for it, but I think all of us are very, very proud because we do meet lots of girls, whether it be in music and in different industries, that say, you know, I was really inspired by you girls when I was growing up, and you made me realise I could do what I wanted to do, and that's really nice. I think that's the highest compliment that we can be paid as the Spice Girls.
How do you feel about 90s fashion coming back?
Well, quite good, because I've still got lots in the wardrobe, if I can fit in it. But yeah, you know, these things, it makes you feel old, I suppose, doesn't it? When, like, your era becomes retro, it's like, oh gosh, I'm that person now.
Now you've made it onto Top of the Pops too.
Yeah, but it's, you know, but it's cool. I think you have to embrace everything. In the 90s, it was a great decade for Britain, actually. And, you know, we've had tougher times since then. So it's quite nice to reminisce and look back to more innocent days.
You've made moves now into judging other people. How do you find that?
I've really enjoyed it. I've been working on Asia's Got Talent. It was our first season. And, you know, of all those shows, for me, it's the one which is pretty wholesome. You know, it's family entertainment. I'm a mum as well. My little girl's 6. And we've seen some incredible talent, and I've enjoyed it. And it's not something I ever thought I was going to do, but I'm really glad I've had the opportunity. It's really enabled me to travel again, and I spent time with my little girl over in Singapore, and to meet David Foster and Angun and Van Ness, who are 2 Asian artists I didn't know at all. And yeah, it's nice. It's like you're always learning. It just gives you the opportunity to kind of, you know, spread your wings and keep going.
Do you think it's easier to be a working mum mum when you can take your daughter with you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's nice to have that choice and that option. It doesn't always work out well, and it's not always for the best. I think it's hard as a mum. It's hard being a stay-at-home mum. In many ways, harder, I should imagine, than being a working mum. And you always have to try and think what's best for your child, don't you? So yeah, trying to fit things around term time and not being away too much is kind of my priority.
So you've been on the Isle of Man. I guess you're off now. What's next for you? What's coming up?
What's next? Well, I've been writing, actually, slowly and steadily over the past year, and I'm very excited about my new record. I'm sure it will be close to being finished early next year, but I'm not rushing because I just want it to be great. And up to now, it's going really well. I'm working with lots of collaborators that I've worked with in the past. I'm meeting new people. Yeah, just looking forward to having new material and going out and gigging myself with my own band.
Well, thank you for making 8-year-old me absolutely chuffed.
Thank you.
Now, I can feel some disagreement coming on because we're asking, should restaurants have to display the calorie content of their food and drink? The local government association in the UK says some restaurants, pubs and cinema chains already do, but says the industry must do more. Now, it's already happening in the United States, where large restaurant chains have until the end of next year. Chairman of the LGA's Community Wellbeing Board said,
"We're calling on cinema, restaurant and pub chains to step up and show leadership in tackling the obesity crisis by providing clear and graphic signs at counters and on menus. In many cases, people are unaware of how many calories they're consuming. Food and drink outlets should be doing more to provide clear and prominent labelling which spells this out clearly."
But what do you think? Should restaurants, cafes, pubs and cinemas have to display the calorie count of every menu option? Let us know your thoughts. Text 166 177 or email womentoday@manxradio.com. And Jo...
Oh, you're giving it to me first.
Jo, I think I might know how you feel about this.
I think you might. I'm definitely not on both sides of the fence here. I know exactly where I stand. Yes, I do agree. I think that calories should be put onto everything within a restaurant, cafe, pub, cinema, because I've seen the traffic light signals working, for instance, when you go to a supermarket and there's red, there's amber and there's green. And I see people looking at it and making those choices. But of course, with my background in helping people lose weight, a lot of people think, oh, do you know what? You should know what's healthy when you look at a menu. Well, it's really interesting because if you go to a local coffee shop where they actually do put the calories onto their food products, you may think that maybe a granola bar is really, really healthy for you because it's got all the right things in it, like oats and maybe fruit. But actually, when you look at the calorie content on it, there's more calories in that than there is maybe in a bacon bap, and you actually might be better going for the bacon bap. However, I just feel that when it comes to people's knowledge, I think you're very good at maybe not knowing what's healthy and what's not healthy. But there is a lot of people that could do that guidance and make more sensible choices.
But are people obsessed with calories?
No, I don't think they are at all. I don't think they are.
Really? People look at calories and make a choice on what they want to eat?
I think there's worse things to be obsessed with.
Alex, what do you reckon?
I'm somewhere in between, just to be pedantic. I think it's good to know. I think when you're going out eating, you're already saying, well, I'm not making this myself. I'm going to have a bit of a treat, usually, as a generalisation. You go out and it's a social thing, so you're going to kind of put the calorie thing to one side. What I do quite like is some restaurants I've noticed, I can't think of any names.
Don't say them anyway.
No, I wouldn't say them anyway, of course not. But that you'll look at, they'll have a little icon and the key in the corner, it'll say these things are under, say this meal is under 600 calories. It doesn't tell me how many it is, and it'll only maybe on 5 or 6 things on that menu. But if I want to go out with my family and think, I really want to be healthy tonight, I'll just have that chicken noodles because it's under 600.
But I just think you do know that if you're ordering chips, it's going to be in a pub. Yeah. It's not going to be good for you, and you know that if you're ordering a salad, it's going to be better for you. Of course,
not necessarily.
You do.
Salads
better for you. I'm saying better for you, not necessarily calories. And I think people are obsessed with calories because if you start putting calories on, say, desserts, you could quite easily order a meringue with fresh fruit and think, oh, do you know what? It's less than 100 calories. That's only 80 calories. But you're missing the whole point that you've had so much sugar in a meringue. So what are you going to stop it? Where do you stop it, though? Do you start putting all the detail of what's in those ingredients?
You mentioned there the salad. In actual fact, there's more calories in a Caesar salad than there are in chips.
it depends on the
And
portion
the
size, surely.
No, the Caesar salad, no, creamy dressing, it's been proven.
But that's creamy dressing. You know that's not good for you.
But people don't, though. That's just the point. People don't know that. And people do think, and they see a Caesar salad and they think it's healthy and they choose it.
But shouldn't we be teaching people what is healthy and what's not healthy rather than just putting calories on things?
Yeah, but who's going to do that? You've got to do that yourself. And unless you go and get some advice for it, you can't do that. You've got to do that yourself. So, yes, of course we should be teaching. What Alex said was really interesting, and it's a good point. And I do like the fact that you said about how, meals under 600 calories, you may choose that if you wanted a lower fat option. And that's great. You don't have to put 537 maybe on the mark. But you also said people, if they're going out, may just forget about the calories because it's a treat and they're going out. But you know what? We go out so much more now than we ever did before. So in actual fact, it's not a treat anymore. A lot of people are going out 2 or 3 times a week for either lunch and dinner.
I don't know if I necessarily agree it's happening any more now than it used to. I think it depends where you live, where you are, and your lifestyle and your money. But I also think when you said it's about yourself, it's about knowing what's healthy and what's not. Well, there you go then. You don't necessarily need a couple of numbers next to your burger to tell you if that's right or wrong.
You'd be surprised. I think you'll be very surprised. I used to have food diaries brought to me on a very regular basis, and I would literally read them, and people would think that they'd been very healthy in the food choices that they had, and I was amazed at what food choices they'd had.
Well, people can beat themselves up a little bit about what they're eating and maybe look at what they're doing when they're not eating. So if they're exercising, regular exercise, then maybe they can give themselves a little bit of a break in what they're eating.
Agree.
It's all about a balance again.
Exactly. It's moderation, like I've always said. Yeah.
One negative thing I do see coming from this, and I don't know whether it's happened in America or not, that if you do want to have a nice experience and a social experience, which was really, for me, what eating out is all about, is having a good time, hopefully with friends or family. And if I'm sat there thinking, oh, that's too many calories for me, I'll have a thing and I'll be less satisfied and I'll be hungry, or I'll eat the thing I really, really want and then feel dreadfully guilty afterwards about it. I think it's kind of taking away a bit of the enjoyment of why you're there in the first place.
I'm with you, and I think you also run the risk of becoming a little bit of a bore when you're looking through a menu, kind of adding things up. And when I personally see going out for dinner as a huge treat and something to really, really enjoy. And Sam, I'm really intrigued what you think of this.
Well, I think that people can put themselves through a lot of stress by going overboard with counting calories, etc., beating themselves up after eating whatever they feel is too many calories, and that stress has actually got more of a negative effect on them than eating something good in moderation.
And you went through a phase where you were very much just eating vegetables.
I did. I thought just because I was running around all the time and exercising quite a lot, and the thought of eating heavy, big meals, and I'm usually teaching around meal times, so it was predominantly vegetables. And then I found that my cholesterol level was rising and rising, and my body was producing its own fat to produce a high cholesterol level. So I had to then start to bring more fat into my diet, carbs into my diet. So what was perceived to be unhealthy foods for other people, I actually needed to balance out. So I was actually, not eating meat, not eating fish, but now I have to have a balanced diet of everything.
So would you want to see calories on a menu?
I'm still not fussed to have calories. I don't need calories to sort of know me. I think you get knowledge is the best thing you can gain.
Well, we did ask on our Facebook page what you guys think, and we've got some comments, Joe.
Yeah, we have works well in the States. Don't think they put it on everything on the menu, just lower the calories. No, it's just... Oh, I'm reading out the ones there. See, Alex is going to do the ones that are on your side, and I'll do the ones at mine.
So
Let's
I'm
get
ready
this
and
right.
waiting.
You ready? Okay. Vicky says, yes, a local coffee shop already does this. It does work if everything's bought in, portioned up and microwaved or reheated, but if you're making it fresh from food, it is quite difficult, which I can agree with for sure. Yes would be my answer, says Brian. Amy says yes. Jessica says yes. Susan says yes. They want to see the calories on the menu.
So yes, there are some no's as well. Nicholas says no, we're not stupid and we know what's high in calories and fat, etc., and what is not. Super healthy conscious people always choose what they know is low calories, and those that don't care about calories at home won't care when they eat out, which I think is a fair point. Another one is no, businesses can't afford even more pen-pushing paperwork. A different perspective on it completely. There was another no, which I'm just trying to find. Or Claire says, no. In fact, this has made me really angry, and Joe, I don't like you anymore. Although I think that might be tongue in cheek.
She's a friend of mine, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how we said about, enjoying a meal out and knowing the calories, and if it's higher, then, it might be a food choice that you would normally make, but because it's higher in calories, you may not enjoy the other meals. Do you know what? It makes me laugh, because actually a lot of the foods and choices that we make that are lower in calories are actually really tasty. So it's not always about having high calorie food that has to be a treat or enjoyment. Lower calorie food is also still enjoyable too.
One more comment was it's not just about the calories, it's also about the fat, and I think that touches on a point we said before. Where do you draw the line? Fat is hugely important, especially saturated fats, sugars, salt. You've talked about these things on the programme before, I know you have, and so I think it's where do you draw the line? There's not enough room on the menu if we get into that.
And I said we weren't going to agree, and I think I was right.
Now, our guest, as I mentioned, is an internet sensation. Here's a little bit of a clue as to who she is. Rebecca Flint, better known perhaps as Becky Cruel, rose to fame as a teenager after she began posting videos of herself dancing in her bedroom on YouTube. She since then became a household name in Japan. Becky, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. I'm going to have to ask you first of all, where did the Cruel come from?
Well, actually, the Cruel in my name, there's already a very famous Becky in Japan, so they were kind of like, Becky, you can't just be Becky. I was like, why not? Anyway, my old management was called Life is So Cruel, so I just kind of came from there, really, and it stuck.
Okay. I find it really hard to imagine how you suddenly go from just being an ordinary teenager, doing ordinary teenage things, to suddenly this massive, massive hit in Japan. Because, I mean, really, I keep using the word sensation, but it's true. How do you do that?
It's very shocking, especially because it just came from, my hobby, from my bedroom, never expecting for it to go beyond that, and then to be able to travel to this country, which, I'd adored for so many years. It's very shocking. I kind of... it felt like a dream at first, and it's just kind of slowly become my life, and now it's, more normal to me, but it's still an absolutely incredible thing to experience.
You said you had admired and whatever Japan for so many years. What was it about that country?
I really liked, Japanese culture. I first was introduced to Japanese culture through the manga comic books. It was just so different from, the Isle of Man life, and, having never left the island, really, never been to a city or anything, to kind of like learn about Japan, all these many miles away, and it's so different to Western culture. It was really just very engaging for me.
So what was it like for you then growing up over here?
It's been really good. I think you don't really realise how good it is until you kind of get a little bit older and you're like, actually, this is very nice to be in somewhere so beautiful and so peaceful. But growing up, I was always, hoping that I could go to a city and, experience like a busy life. And I still think I would like to do that at some point, but I do definitely appreciate where I live.
You definitely don't have a Manx accent, do you?
My accent's really weird. I don't really understand it. If anyone knows what it is, please let me know.
Growing up, also, you have a father who is pretty well known, certainly around the media circles, Derek Flint, who is a policeman. What's that like?
Yeah, it's really good, to be honest, especially for my work in Japan, because it's obviously, doing something so public, like being like a public figure in a way, it's a little bit scary. There's some negative sides, and so having my dad, who's a policeman, is always a good deterrent for any bad things happening, and it's always good knowing that he's always got my back, and he's got contacts who can help us if we get in trouble and things like that. So
your dad is all over social media. He has more Twitter followers than I think me, Joe and Beth put together. And I just wonder who taught who, really, when it comes to Twitter.
To be honest, we leave each other to it. He does his thing, I do mine. He's very, very good at it.
You said that dancing around your room then was a hobby. At what point do you decide, I'm going to video this and I'm going to put it out there?
That was part of the hobby, and it's kind of part of the incentive of wanting to learn the dance, is that there's an end goal. So, you learn the dance, and because none of my friends at school really did this, so we couldn't dance it together, I was like, all these people online are dancing this, so why don't I upload it too? And, we'll kind of be dancing together, even though not in real life, it's like a shared hobby online. So it's kind of, it's the purpose of uploading it is it's got an end to the dance, I guess.
And when did you first realise just how popular you were becoming?
The first time it was, I had email notifications on for when people would subscribe to my channel, and when I woke up with like 2,000 new emails, I was like, I've been put somewhere, I don't know where it is, but all these people are coming to my YouTube channel, I don't know why.
But it must be quite daunting because, I mean, you mentioned the fact that obviously you've got your dad who acts as a deterrent should anything go wrong, but, you know, it's not always going to be very nice people looking at this sort of thing. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to take everything online with, some buffer. It's difficult. There's a lot of negative people online. Like, even if you do, the smallest, like, most unoffensive thing, like, it definitely can blow up in your face. And there's a lot of mean people, and when there's not a face to the comments, then people feel like they can say a lot more and not really feel the consequences. So it's been difficult growing up with that, but learning at a young age to kind of just ignore it and listen to the people who do kind of leave a comment because they like you. If you take time to reply back to them, they're going to care a lot more and appreciate it a lot more. So
what do you know about your fans then? Who is your typical fan, would you say?
Right now, my typical fan is definitely young British and American girls who like Japanese fashion, Japanese culture. Basically me a few years ago.
And how much responsibility do you feel for them in what you say, in what you do, in what you post?
It is a big responsibility. It definitely is. I love my fans. They're like a family to me, and I do feel like this big sisterly responsibility. I don't have a sister, so it's nice to have all these little internet little sisters. I just want to look out for them and make sure that they are kind of doing well and making good choices and feeling free to express themselves.
Becky, you obviously have been doing this from a very young age. How did you manage school around all your celebrity status?
It was okay, because it's such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You can kind of always retake education, but you can never retake opportunities. That's kind of how me and my family saw it. So there was going to be a little bit of like a shift in grades and things, just because of how busy I was trying to manage everything at once. But I felt like I could do it all, and I pretty much did. I was happy with the grades that I got at school, and I managed to balance the workload quite well, I would say.
Was school supportive around it to your teachers?
School was, yeah. I mean, there was some animosity, and definitely like at school there was like bullies and things like that, which was a bit disheartening, but for the most part everyone was quite nice and supportive, and the Department of Education was very supportive as well, letting me go away if I needed to and things like that.
So you adore Japan, you build up this massive online persona, and then you get to go to the country. What was that like?
It was literally like a dream. Like, I was telling my family days before, I was like, even though we had the tickets booked and printed out, it was like, it's obviously not going to happen. Like, we're obviously not going to go. Like, I didn't want to get my hopes up too much because this was such a dream come true. It was amazing. And when I was there, I was like, it doesn't feel real. I don't feel like I'm here. And it was so overwhelming, seeing what it's really like compared to like the media depiction of Japan. It was really overwhelming.
Well, in 2010, there was a documentary broadcast about you on BBC Three.
Hello, you lovely people. This is Becky here.
Week after week, she uploaded dance after dance. Then one day, she posted one that would change her life. It was called Danjo. One internet hit followed another, and soon Becky found herself being watched by 500,000 people.
We were all dancing along to that. I think it's fair to say we should not post that anywhere near YouTube. But that documentary went out. Did that make you more well-known over here in the UK?
Definitely. I mean, I remember people were kind of tweeting me saying, my mum recorded it for me. And I was like, if I wasn't me, my mum would have definitely recorded that for me, like if it was someone else. Because it's totally the thing that, I was interested in, anything to do with Japan. My mum was always like, oh, look, Becky, something about Japan. And for other people to have that for their family was quite shocking as well. It was like really nice.
I watched it when I was at university, and I was at the same school as Becky, obviously a few years younger than me. And I remember we were all just sat in our flat watching it, and suddenly we were like, oh, that's the Isle of Man. Wait, that's the policeman. And it was the most bizarre experience watching it, because I had no idea that
someone from the island was doing that. Now, I think it's fair to say that for many of us, our early memories include music. As children, we love to sing and dance to our favourite songs, and those memories stay with us throughout our adult lives. Well, this summer, TV channel Nick Jr. has launched a new sing-along initiative to give budding stars the chance to sing on television. And there are many ways even to get the kids involved. Now, 9 out of 10 Brits say the music they enjoyed during childhood evokes strong, positive memories for them today. But why? Well, I've been speaking to Dr. Sam Vass, a cognitive scientist and presenter of The Secret Life of a 4-Year-Old, to find out. But first, apparently this band came top of the list for positive memories, and it definitely does for me.
A lot of people say that their very earliest memories are music-related memories. Why? One of the reasons is what's special about music compared to other art forms is music is something that really takes place in the body as much as it takes place in the brain. So when we're listening to a piece of music, if it's a fast-paced piece of music, our heart will actually physically beat faster when we're listening to the music. So it has a much bigger effect on us physically than other art forms do. This is particularly true, Kate, if we're thinking about singing, so participating in music. Because what you're having to do, the other thing that you're having to do when you're singing is taking these big, long, deep breaths in to sing out all of the words to a whole line of a song. And this is a very different pattern of breathing to how we normally breathe. So normally we breathe quite fast and quite shallowly, particularly when we're upset or stressed. So singing forces us to take these big, slow breaths, which is the same way that we breathe when we're calm. So it can really help us physically to calm down. So it just has a big effect on us. So this is one of the reasons why a lot of people report their earliest memories to be music memories, and also particularly why when people remember their early musical memories, they tend overwhelmingly to be happy memories.
It's interesting, isn't it, as well, when we think about remembering things, because we can read a book and I think we forget what happens in the plot quite quickly. Whereas with a song, we seem to just, the lyrics stick in our brain.
Yeah. No, definitely, because oftentimes, Kate, that's lyrics that we've listened to again and again and again. So this is another really powerful thing about music, that often we have this urge, almost everybody, I'm sure you can think of an example from your life, I can certainly think of examples from mine, where we've just sat of an afternoon and just listened to a song again and again and again. So it really burns itself deeply into your brain and into your body.
Many teenage afternoons whiling away, with angst in our bedrooms.
Exactly. But one of the things, what I'm trying to emphasise with this initiative, Kate, is singing's good for children. Let children choose the music that they sing to, and you really shouldn't be worried if they do have this urge, because it's a very natural urge to choose the same song again and again and again, because we really are starting to understand kind of on a brain level why it is that we have this kind of urge to listen to music so intensively, and it really is a healthy thing to do.
I remember when we broke up the first time, saying this is it, I've had enough, cause like we hadn't seen each other in a month, when you said you needed space. What?
Well, how good are we at kind of including music in our children's lives?
Well, this survey that we just had commissioned suggests that 75% of parents do sing with their children, which is good because, as I say, there's a lot of research suggesting that it's a really, really healthy way of bonding, forging relationships with your child. But it also, 75% is good, but it also means that 25% never sing with their children, and that's a problem, and that's what we're looking to shift. So that's one of the reasons why we launched this initiative.
Are there particular songs that we should be singing with them?
No, I think, Kate, it's a question of choosing the song to fit your child's mood. So we spend so long as adults, as parents, telling children what to do, and choosing the choice of music is one area where it's perfectly safe to let the kids be in charge. So let the kid decide what they want to listen to. And kids love that. They respond really well to being in charge for a change.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Sing Along Summer Initiative. You're not coming to the Isle of Man, unfortunately.
No,
but if any of our
not.
listeners find themselves and their children in the UK this summer, what exactly is going on?
We are taking a karaoke booth round some UK cities. As you said, Kate, unfortunately, we're not making it to the Isle of Man. But we've also, on the TV channel, as part of our Sing Along Summer programme, we're putting the lyrics to all of the theme musics to songs onto the screen as the theme music is playing to encourage the child to sing along. And if you've got a child who really fancies themselves as a singer, then what you can do is you can video your child singing a song, upload it online on the Nick Jr. website, and then if they're judged to be one of the best, then the prize is to appear on national TV.
Now, I'm an awful singer, and my parents would admit that. What if other parents are thinking, ooh, then they're just tone deaf?
Well, the key thing, Kate, is it's with this one, unlike other competitions, it's not done just on the quality of your voice, it's done off your passion. So how much you're enjoying yourself, your charisma, whether you really turn it into a performance. So I'd say you've got a good chance.
Oh, I think I might be a little bit too old.
Yeah.
But I'm in with a chance, apparently. Dr. Sam Vass talking to me there. How much did music... How much of a part did music play in your childhood?
Oh, it was huge. We always had music on, and I remember growing up, up the top of the stairs, listening to my parents having dinner parties, and they were listening to like Barbra Streisand Guilty album or Barbara Dixon and Genesis, whoever it was, and I had really fond memories because it was laughter and they were having a great time, but there was always music on in our house. And I went to boarding school and I always took tapes back that my mum used to listen to, and it was of Susie on Manx Radio that she would stop and record Susie's show because they have exactly best friends, they have exactly the same music taste. So I used to take tapes of what Susie used to play at Manx Radio because it reminded me of my mum and it reminded me of home. It was lovely.
So how good are you then at letting your children actually choose the music now?
Oh yeah, brilliant at that actually, because
Really?
yeah, I'm really lucky. Molly, who's 14, we have really similar music choice. She does have a few songs that are a bit these days, and that's kind of like a little bit clubby like, maybe show my age there, but Harry and Molly have really similar music choice. So when we're in the car we really connect actually, and obviously going through her teens it's a really hard time for her, and she loves her music. She has it on all the time, and it's not pounding out the bedrooms or anything just yet, but when we're in the car it's a great discussion point for the two of us because we try and remember who it was, and we really talk about music, and especially obviously with me doing the breakfast show, she knows that I love music, so it's a really good connection actually.
Yeah, I'm with you. Whenever I think of music, it is something that really reminds me, especially of my dad, and my brother's incredibly musical, so it's something that takes me straight back into those kind of memories. John, Michael,
I just want to hear that imitation of that. Thanks. Just to confirm that I did get that right.
My favourite part of that is Joe's weird kind of pokey finger dance
Yeah,
that she's doing with it.
and also,
I can see you doing that in the club, Joe.
And from your side of things, Kate, who is Angst?
Who is Angst?
Yeah, because in the recording there you spent a lot of time in your bedroom with Angst, and I just wondered if that was some Scottish guy we should all know about and what memory it takes you back. You're like Rod Stewart apparently.
Oh, John, we'll
no,
keep
but
those
anyway,
memories
going
to ourselves,
back to
thank
me.
you.
No, actually, when in the pre-production meeting we had, I was thinking about this, and when I was a kid, I must have been about 6 years old, and every single Sunday my mother would play a Nat King Cole album called Stardust, which actually has that track on it, but it's also got Unforgettable on it. And if ever I hear that today, it takes me right back to the kitchen, the smell of roast beef, the whole thing. And my parents weren't a big musical family. In fact, my father bought me a gramophone on the pretense that he was tone deaf, but he then had it wired up so I put headphones on to listen to Elton John and stuff like that and wouldn't disturb them. But, you're right, and it places you in time, and it's where you were.
What about you, Michael? You're incredibly musical yourself.
No, I'm part of that percentage that I certainly, as your guest speaker suggested, that I didn't have when I was young. If you're talking about under 10, I certainly didn't have the family and certainly the parents singing along. We didn't do anything like that at all. And I was much more interested in poetry, really. And one of the poems that I lived with from that age was The Isle of Innisfree. And that has always been with me sort of from that early age. But no, we didn't do that sort of thing. And in fact, funny, you reminded me there, John, of talking about your father's gramophone. Yes, my father had a gramophone as well, a very posh one, a big piece of furniture, and there was a little note on the inside when you opened it. Please do not touch.
Do you know, for the first time ever on this show, I feel quite young.
Do you actually know what a gramophone is?
I've seen pictures of
there
them.
There you go, you see.
But you see, we were like with LPs, so you had an LP record player. For
LPs,
Kate, that's going back in the dark ages, isn't it?
I'm so lost. But Joe, I think this might bring back some memories for you. Genesis, Joe?
I've got
Explain
goosebumps.
yourself.
Okay, this takes me back to a time where I went to Portugal with my family for a month, and we stayed in a really nice villa in the middle of nowhere. And my dad was really, really working a lot, really working hard, and he was away an awful lot. And it was a stressful time for him. And we went away as a family for a month, and we literally, I think, listened to the Genesis album, Invisible Touch, every single night. I can smell the sardines on the barbecue. I can see my dad sitting down, relaxed, with a cigar and a glass of rosé, and just the feel of it. I mean, I've got goosebumps all over me. It's a wonderful album, but it does take me back to being a little girl and seeing my parents really happy.
I think that's really lovely, Jo. That's really nice. I'm going to share mine now. It's slightly different in style. This song takes me straight back to my childhood. Oh, Jo, you're looking at me like I'm mad.
What a contrast.
It's half man, half biscuit. This song, as soon as I hear it, takes me straight back to driving from our home in Laxey to Suffolk. It seemed like the longest journey you could possibly do.
It would be if you were playing that, though, wouldn't it?
But we used to sing this at the top of our voices.
Come on, give us a bit.
Go on, then.
I've just said I'm tone deaf. I mean, probably don't need to be too tuneful for this, but what we used to sing is me, my brother and my dad probably just drove my mum absolutely insane singing this top of our voices. But, however, when I was listening back to it for the first time in a little while this morning, I did remember that there is this line in it. Okay, you ready?
What say we go the Isle of Man?
Oh.
See? Now, before we introduce our guest this afternoon, I'm going to be incredibly honest. I have never been a fan of yoga. I've tried it, and I'm even ashamed to say I've actually fallen asleep in yoga classes, and I even lived with a yoga instructor for 3 years. But Jo, you are a huge yoga fan.
I am, and thanks to our guest, in actual fact, I am. Yeah, I love it. I try to go as often as I can. With work at the moment, I'm not so much getting there, but Sam's my inspiration by being here today, so I'm back on it. But I love it, and it's helped me in so many different ways. From going a really difficult year, obviously going through a separation, it helped me sort out my mind, but also with having back injuries, discs out, it's really helped my core, and I don't suffer with back pain anymore. So lots of different reasons why I do go to yoga.
Alex Watton, I say yoga, you say...
Noga.
Oh dear.
You're not a fan.
You've totally practiced that.
That's not actually true. I can't resist a good pun. No, I've done yoga in the past and I've actually really enjoyed it. I think it depends on your lifestyle, and I think it's a bit of a commitment you have to make, which I haven't been able to. I'm a commitment phobe. I haven't been able to commit to yoga, so maybe in the future if I'm convinced today.
Well, as Jo mentioned, our guest today is a yoga instructor with nearly 20 years of experience. She opened her own studio in 2006 and has become an internationally recognised trainer. Sam Walker, thank you very much for joining us on Women Today this afternoon.
Hello.
I may have just said that I've never been a fan, and I feel really embarrassed and ashamed sitting in front of you, but I do promise that I am open-minded. Do you think you'll be able to change my mind about yoga?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Confident. I like that. But what is it about yoga that you love so much?
It's diversity, I think, to give you whatever you need or whatever each individual needs, whether it's relaxation or whether you want a big power workout. So it gives you everything.
How did you get started?
I got started after the birth of my second child, and wanted to think differently about exercise, and I think the aerobic scene was sort of becoming old-fashioned, and a leaflet dropped through my door actually for the college courses. So I went along to a school hall in the dinner hall and with 50 other people, and like you actually, I was sleepy and falling asleep, but I kept going, and for some reason I kept going, My mind perhaps wasn't in the right place at the right time, just giving birth to kids, just leaving my husband at home with the kids thinking, well, I hope they're all right, hope they've gone to bed, and really not focused but still going. But what really tipped me over the edge was one day, it wasn't exciting enough, just as you said, really. So I happened to come across a channel on one of the TV channels, which has since gone, and I saw that yoga wasn't really as I was doing, with lots of perhaps older ladies, that stereotypical image that people might have of it. And this was a couple of young people on some beach in Jamaica doing something that was a little bit more flowing, and I got quite excited about this, but it was very short moments with long adverts, so I had to, this was so long ago, I had to tape the eliminate the adverts, putting this practice together and then trying to get up before the kids got up and do this practice. But then something was happening. It was making me sharper in my mind, stronger, and, you know, to be honest, it was difficult. I think you have that postnatal blues, and it was picking me up, and it was making me exercise again in a more intelligent way. It was different. I was thinking differently, and I didn't need to jump around to get my body back.
What difference has it made to your life, aside from feeling more kind of in tune, I guess? Your everyday life?
Like Joe, it gets you through all of the ups and the downs. Whether you're hyperactive, which I can tend to be, and it calmed me down a little bit, or whether you're prone to depression, and I was ever since a kid, and I knew that I couldn't really sit still. But you can't have a crazy exercise regime 100% of the time and go into old age with that. So you have to find your balance, and that's what it did. It found my balance physically and mentally.
So speaking of balance, you also a bit of a dab hand at some martial arts.
I found that balance needed to happen as well, that I wanted something that was less airy-fairy and something that was empowering me as a woman and making me feel strong, because people could perceive yoga to be girly and flimsy, and so I stepped into this martial art world where I was kicking and it made me very strong, and I moved very slowly with a lot of control, and even had to do the punching and kicking through blocks, and so it was very good. So I earned my red belt in Budokan.
I'm going to edge away from you now. I'm quite scared.
I'm scared for a desk if you can hit through things. But I understand there are so many different types and styles of yoga and different ways to practice it. What do you do?
I have a broad knowledge of all of the different styles of yoga, but again, I like to create a balance. So if you think about it as that I've gone and I've experienced all of them, and I've well, I don't really think that's very beneficial, but I can see where the benefits there are, and I've filled up my little backpack of all that knowledge of all these 20 years and think, well, I think this is the perfect balance, that it's a mixture of everything. And yoga can sometimes be a little bit religious in this type think that their yoga's the best, and the other type that think that theirs is the best. But it's a whole mixture, a real balance of everything.
And do you think that's helping to get away from the sort of preconceptions people have of you say of airy-fairy yoga? Because you don't strike me as particularly airy-fairy.
No, I really like to strip down all of that. So none of that comes into it. Yes, there's chanting, and if you want chanting, it can be there if you want it to be. But I think that the entry level of yoga needs to be so open-minded, light-hearted, and after all, I really have taken it and stripped away all of the airy-fairy stuff so that it's more achievable for anyone to rock through my door.
And I have to say, when I'm doing it, I was explaining to somebody in the office just the other day about how it's the 1 hour in my day where I don't think about anything else whatsoever, because you can't. You've got to think about things because that you're doing at the time, so it brings it all into very much mindfulness, because you've got to be very mindful of, like when we do balancing poses, you can't be thinking about something else that's going on, because otherwise you lose your balance. So I think it's brilliant for people that have such busy lives, because in actual fact you can't have your phone with you, you can't do anything apart from think about exactly what you're doing for that whole 1 hour. And that's what I love about it, is a complete escapism.
Is it then, Sam, is it a physical or a mental workout?
It's absolutely both. It's physically working and you being intelligent to figure out perhaps your imbalances. So whether you're a runner or a cyclist or you do nothing, you have to sit at a desk and you don't get as much exercise as you want to get, then it's you attuning your body, you're fine-tuning it so that your cycling is going to be enhanced, your running, your exercise, your relaxation is going to be enhanced, your sharpness in your work and in relationships is going to be enhanced.
Do you find that a lot of athletes who perhaps do sports completely different and quite opposite to yoga come to yoga classes to find that balance?
I think that everyone who steps through my door finds it would be my job for them to help them find their balance and to not compare to the person next to them and to see where they are. And it's all about where you are on that day.
That's a really good point, because at the beginning I was, not able to do such poses, and I'd be getting really irritated looking at other people going, I want to be able to do that. And actually what Sam taught me was very much that it's not about other people, it is absolutely about yourself.
Maybe this is why I've never been a fan, because my competitive side goes, nope, I want this to be a bit competitive and I want there to be a challenge and I want there to be a winner.
But that's okay to do that within yourself. And you see other people doing it, you think, I want to do that, but I'm not going to maybe get there today. But one thing I do also find about yoga is it's amazing how much it tones up your body by using your own weight. So you don't need to be using weights, you don't need to be using anything else apart from your own body to actually tone yourself up with. So it's a quite useful tool.
And it's incredibly popular at the moment. Over the last few years, it seems to have just grown and grown in popularity. Why do you think that is, Sam?
Because I think everybody can relate to it in their own way. So it's not running, where it's one thing that you're doing. If someone stepped through my door, that I would like to be able to teach them where they don't know what's coming next, so it's not a repetitive action, and a repetitive action could be perceived to be not so good for your body. So by not knowing what's coming next, it's keeping a sharp mind, and you're turning up every day because you don't know what you're going to get. So it's different for everyone, and it can be continued to old age.
In line with that popularity, I suppose, that resurgence, I've really noticed the fads, or what I call fads, probably more novelty yogas perhaps, like hot yoga, which has been a bone of contention in recent history, and step yoga, and just all these bizarre sort of mixes of how you can spice up yoga. Is that good, or is that really kind of detracting from what yoga's all about?
I think that if that's somebody's first entry into yoga on surfboards, boxing yoga, if that's their first entry into it, because otherwise they may never have come to it, then that's fine. And then they can refine it and think, well, actually, that seems a bit daft now, and now I'm just going to do this yoga. And
do you think it's daft?
Refine it. Some of it's a bit daft, but no, it's all right. It's good.
Gets people involved, I guess.
It's control, yeah.
You're incredibly passionate about trying to convert people like me who perhaps don't quite see the appeal of yoga. If you could sum it up, how would you sell yoga to convert me?
Could I ask, are you easily distracted?
You have to ask.
Yeah, I can see it. At school was that on your reports, easily distracted.
Yeah.
So that's why I teach in a certain way. I think that if you come through the door and you're going to be bored, I don't want that to happen to anybody. So whether it's at a beginner's level, if it's absolutely at a beginner's level, then I'd want somebody to come in and not be bored. But on the other hand, you're not disappearing from reality for an hour. There's that balance going on, that mixture going on, where you want your mind to gain control so that when you go out, things can be sorted out. Things that all the ups and downs in life can be sorted out.
Thanks as always to our amazing guests. And as ever, it's never too late for you to get involved. Head over to Facebook, find the Women Today Facebook page, and you can comment there, or you can follow us at MR Women Today on Twitter. And you can listen again to the full programmes on manxradio.com, or join us every weekday live from just after 2:00.
Angie Street is going to be joining me for Mile and Man Railways. Oh, here we go. The snorting started.
Women Today, brought to you by citywing.com for your next flight away.